It says, when they were assembled with the elders and had taken counsel, they gave large money unto the soldiers, saying, say ye, his disciples came by night and stole him away while we slept. So they're just promoting a false narrative.
Imagine the rebellion that would have happened across the whole land of Israel if the people had realized, wait, our own high priest just killed our Messiah. Hi, welcome back to Gotta Be Me podcast. We are so happy to be here again with you today. We are your hosts. My name is Sophia Benyon, and this is my cousin, Peyton Benyon.
Welcome back to our channel, everybody. If you are new here, please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Now, hopefully, we are going to get something that says that constantly so we don't have to keep saying it
Every single time, because we're so over our introduction. It feels like a minute since we recorded.
Yeah, it has been a while. We did a bunch at the beginning of the summer. I need to turn this off.
And then we weren't home for part of the summer, so then we were recording, if you noticed, our other podcast on a different set. So now we're back at our home set.
Summer's about
almost over.
I can't believe
School's
it.
About to start. Anyway, today we would like to just do another podcast where we delve into basically what we learned from another chapter of Hustlin Backwards. Like we've mentioned in other videos, and like we are going to keep mentioning, we have no intention of interpreting for the author what he was trying to say, or
speaking for him.
In any way. We are simply trying to speak to what we learned from the book. Our intro was entitled "How Hustlin Backwards Changed Our Lives," so that's what we want to talk about. We want to talk about how it's changed our minds, how it's influenced us, and what we've learned. So today we're going to be getting into chapter 3.
Chapter 3.
And the name of that chapter is Gaining Consent Through Manipulation. Gaining consent through manipulation. So, Peyton, you want to kick us off?
Yeah. So first things when I think of gaining consent. So a lot of this chapter, he talks somewhat about COVID and just like how were the measures for COVID able to become implemented. Just basically how people are moved at a large scale, and they have to be manipulated in some sense.
Right.
So
you're not just gonna off the bat be like,
oh, I'll stay 6 feet away from everybody.
I won't go to the restaurant.
That's good, you know.
I'll stay at home.
Yeah, I'll stay at home. So there has to be some sort of narrative that's purported to people in order for them to start moving in one accord. And he was talking about how often that movement is financed often by money, and they act like it's because of facts, but oftentimes it is money.
And what happens is the way they present it as facts is. And Brother Stephen mentions this is fake news. And he says, even though, former President Trump is credited with coining that term, there's always been fake news. There's always been the truth, and then there's always been alternative narratives.
Right.
And those are manipulated to
gain consent.
Manipulate others, and to gain consent through that manipulation. I feel like you were about to say something else, and I kind of interrupted you.
No, I don't think I was. Oh, sorry. That was boring.
And then Camila's like
sliding through.
Anyway, you might be wondering, like, okay, well, you said that you were going to talk about hustling backwards and talk about how the oppression of the African American, how that helps us see all of the oppressions. Well, what does that have to do with this? Well, to me, and what I've learned from hustling backwards is basically, if they could do that to the American slave, if they could
gain that consent, right? The consent that Black people are not even humans,
right?
That we should sell them like animals, right? There's consent.
If they could do that, then let's not put anything past them, right?
Yeah.
It's not like the system.
Well, yeah, we know that was about money, right? And that's there are people funding that, and that is how manipulation happened.
Right, and it's.
I know what I was trying to say. I did.
It's okay. We're still in this. It's not like the American system has never lied to us. And we are not here to hate on America. I love America. I am happy to be an American. I am thankful for the freedoms that provides. I'm thankful for whatever advantages are a part of being American. I am thankful for those. So we're not trying to say that. But we also have to acknowledge.
We're not going to lie, right? Like, truth has been manipulated before. You're not going to have a whole group of people enslaved without some sort of manipulation of truth.
And that manipulation of truth has been used to control us.
Right.
It's been used to oppress people. It's been used to keep people down.
I know Malcolm X uses the example about the March on Washington.
Actually, chapter 3, at least half of it is just Malcolm X's speech kind of typed out, because it's so it's such a clear example of how you can gain consent through manipulation. But go ahead.
It's through a money system. So he talks about when Martin Luther failed to desegregate Albany, Georgia, the civil rights movement was at a really low point. People were really upset. As soon as King failed to desegregate Birmingham, the Negroes took to the street, right? They were going crazy. They were all upset. They were all mad. And then the government told Dr. King, like, hey, you need to put a stop to this.
Right.
These people are getting out of control.
And Dr. King was like,
he said, I can't stop it because I didn't start it. So then they were like, okay, the government was like, well, we got to do something. Kennedy sent down the troops, and he said, all right, we're going to pass a civil rights bill. And then, there was a grassroots movement out on the streets. And they said, we're going to march up to Washington. We're going to stop the government in its tracks. We're not leaving until
we get what we want, right?
Until we get what we want. So it was a Black revolution that was intending to be very powerful. And then the government saw that.
And they got scared. They got legitimately scared.
Right? And then what they did is they had a meeting with the civil rights leaders. Let me check my information. So the government had a meeting with the civil rights movement.
And at the time, the civil rights movement was really severely lacking in funds. Like for what they were trying to do, they just didn't have the money. And it was like the government stepped in that weak moment and was like, look, we'll pay you.
And they said, we'll fund it, but this is what you have to do. And so in that way, through money, the movement was kind of manipulated and watered down.
Right.
People like James Baldwin flew in from Paris to give a speech. They wouldn't let him give a speech. Because they said James Baldwin's liable to say anything. So they let someone else read a speech by him, but he was not able to speak at the march. So basically, they told him where to march, how to march, what to say.
And not only that, but they were like, you're gonna leave. You're gonna come into town at this time. You're gonna leave town. It stopped being a protest and turned into wasn't it Malcolm X that said it was a picnic?
Yeah, it turned into a picnic. It turned into that he said there was clowns there,
the whole
vendors, night. Like it just turned into a whole picnic. Yeah, it stopped being as potent as it was because
as militant as it should have been.
When that money got involved in the consent and the people were pacified. Right, I'm like placitated, I'm stuttering over here. So at the end of this, it has a sentence that really kind of sums it up for me. It says, rebellion against oppression has always been suppressed through the belief system of money. So that is how rebellions are kind of stopped. And that's how you're like, I always wonder, like, how did a rebellion against slavery not happen earlier, right? Like, why did all those people just sit there? Why were all those? Surely not everyone was complacent with it, but like that's
money is a belief system.
Money is a belief system,
and it controls so much.
And it controls that, and we see the same thing has happened since Jesus' time. I do have my Bible here because in Matthew chapter 28. After Jesus rose again, it says in verse 12, when they were assembled with the elders and had taken counsel, they gave large money unto the soldiers.
Large money, the Bible says.
To the soldiers, saying, say ye, his disciples came by night and stole him away while we slept. So they're just promoting a false narrative, right?
They paid them to tell fake news to the world, and they were able to keep everybody. Because imagine the riot, imagine the rebellion that would have happened across the whole land of Israel if the people had realized, wait, our own high priest just killed our Messiah, who has now risen again. But if we can keep him down, keep him calm, keep it all under control, we'll give you the money. It still works like that. Yeah, that's still how people are being controlled. And
right. At that time, it was the power structure of Rome, who was the controlling empire at the time. They were the world power,
right.
Rome. And they paid that money, and they got what they wanted.
And for that reason, I think it's so important to understand where we're getting our information from. Because most likely, whatever information we're getting has been skewed, twisted, filtered in some way to manipulate us to do something. The information moves people, right? But if they can present the information to you, record it and report it in just the way they want, then you will be controlled. And that's why the prophetic narrative, as we keep saying and we'll always say, is so important. Without the prophetic filter, without prophecy, without a prophet to help us to understand what's going on in our world, we'll always get off somewhere. And if you can get just a little bit off, but when you keep on traveling, you just get farther and farther off. And we just need prophecy to keep. Nope. this is what's happening.
Line of
This is what
prophecy.
prophecy says will happen. This is how you gotta have that. Without that, we can do our best. We can have the best human intentions. We can seek for truth with the purest heart. But without prophecy,
oppression will never cease, and a true rebellion,
will never happen.
Yeah,
that was a good ending. Y'all know what time it is. Peace, love, and hair grease.